Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Coach Cast. I'm your host, Chad Birger. Today, we are going to talk with Coach Jim Glogowski of the University of Sioux Falls Cougars about the 2024 season for the Cougars. I'll be joined today by my co-host, Sam Dooyema, who's back with us for another season this year. So we are excited to kick things off for the Cougars season. To begin things, we'll go ahead and jump right in with Sam and talk about the 2023 season results.
Welcome back to another edition of CougCast. Thanks for the intro, Chad. And looking at 2023, it wasn't exactly what we all hoped to be, but this season is what it is, and we're going to move on to 2024. Just a quick recap looking at it. We, of course, opened with Coach Glow's former employer, Minnesota State, Mankato at home, which was a 54-26 loss. And then they took it on the road to Bismarck and was able to secure Coach Glow's first win as a USF Cougar with a 36-17 win against the Merry Marauders. They then hit the road again up to Duluth, which was a tough loss up there near the lake, 42-34. And then followed that up by grinding out a win against Minot State, where the defense pitched a 7-0 shutout to move their record to 2-2. The key to the city game was at the Bob last year, and was a close game early before the Vikings pulled away late, and ended up being a 49-29 loss to our crosstown rivals. And then headed up to the Twin Cities for a battle with Concordia St. Paul, where the Cougars once again were able to get into a shootout and come out victorious with a 35-28 victory to even their record at 3-3. Kind of a reoccurring theme for last year, these shootouts and close scoring and these tight scoring games here as we hit the road to Moorhead, which ended up being a 53-40 loss, as well as another shootout at home against Winona State Warriors, 42-35 loss. And then we had an opportunity to play a non-conference game, which we will again this year. And Coach Glow is going to talk about that in a little bit. But the Coup headed south to Pittsburgh, Kansas, where they battled with the Pittsburgh Gorillas in the rain and the muck and the wind, which was a 55-6 loss to one of our counterparts from the MIAA. We ended up the season with a tough loss to Wayne at home, 28-20. As well as finishing out the season with a loss to Southwest Minnesota State to end the season at 3-8.
All right. Well, that recaps the 2023 season. What we're going to do next is we do have a couple sponsors this year for our program, and so we're going to jump over and talk a little bit about one of our sponsors. So there's a new wing place right by Bob Young Field. It's on 69th Street in Sioux Falls, just north of the USF Stadium. It's known as Atomic Wings. Atomic Wings is going to be a sponsor for our show this year. And Atomic Wings offers customers fresh, never frozen, natural, and hormone-free chicken wings, hand-tossed in 14 proprietary sauces, as well as a classic menu, a welcoming dining experience, and commitment to quality. You can come watch sports as they will have the NFL Sunday Ticket. They also have some cold beer at a self-serve beer station. The menu includes traditional wings, boneless wings, chicken tenders, sandwiches, flatbreads, and salads. You can also choose from waffle fries, onion rings, mac and cheese, jalapeno poppers, mozzarella sticks, tater tots, or sweet potato fries as a side. And don't forget the dessert. They include deep fried Oreos and Nutella waffle that are options that you can't get everywhere. There's something for everyone in the family at Atomic Wings. Additionally, you can also order online, and they have an easy carry-out availability. You can do that at atomicwings.com. Just make sure to select the Sioux Falls location, order online, pay online, and they'll have it waiting for you when you show up. It's going to be the perfect pre- or post-game stop this year before you come to Cougar games. So we're all excited about this partnership. So thank you to Atomic Wings. And I know I kind of talked to Coach Glow earlier. Coach, we'll welcome you back to the program this year. You said you haven't had a chance to try Atomic Wings yet. They just opened up like less than a month ago, I believe. but I think we're going to try to get you there here really, really soon. Hopefully we can do a show there or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about Eric and the crew over there willing to sponsor us and looking forward to taking advantage of those tasty wings. That picture of you was very appetizing.
Oh, yeah. Sam, you're a big wing guy, aren't you?
I am. I love me my wings. It's probably going to be my lecture chair food. That or a nice steak dinner. That might be an off-topic conversation for another day, but buffalo wings could be probably my last meal.
Oh.
Let's hope that's not time too soon, Sam. You got a new family here. You new addition to the off season for you?
Yeah, I've got a newborn daughter, Cora, joining the crew here. So it's a little hectic in the Dooyema household, but we're excited to get out to the games this fall. But our 1-year-old is now a 2-year-old, and he's football crazed. So it's kind of been a fun off season. He's ready. He says it all the time. He's ready for football season. So
that's awesome.
It's time to go.
Well, speaking of getting ready for the season, let's go ahead and take a look next at the 2024 season schedule that we have. So I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen so we can all take a look. Here's the schedule. I just pulled it off the usfcougars.com website this morning. So, Sam, go ahead and take us through what we have here.
Yeah, we're going to have Coach Glow elaborate on some of these, but I'm just going to kind of run through some of the unique highlights of this year. As I mentioned in our 2023 recap, we have another non-conference game. So since USF has joined the NSIC, until last year when we had some defections with Upper Iowa and some folding of some programs, every single game has been in conference in the regular season. And so it's been nice to, I think as a fan, to get outside the conference a little bit and see how some other teams, other conferences play. And so a really unique aspect to this one is not only is it non-conference, but we're also playing a different division. And so the Cougars are going to open against FCS non-scholarship St. Thomas, a member of the Pioneer Football League, on August 29th. And I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that matchup. For regional football fans, the Tommies did play USD last year. The score escapes me, but they are a current Summit League member as well. But because they're non-scholarship football, they do play in the Pioneer Football League. So USF has not played an FCS opponent since McNeese in North Dakota in 2011.
Yeah, we'll highlight that one more here, Sam, but they did play Black Hill State and South Dakota last year.
Okay.
I have the scores of both of those. We'll go through those in the game recap here in just a few moments.
Chad's the numbers man. He's always got me covered, so I appreciate that. So as we move into the NSIC portion of the play, the Cougars are going to be road warriors for those first 2 weeks. Are going to head up to that brand new stadium up in Aberdeen, Dakota Bank Stadium, for a game with Northern. So that's always a good time. The Northern fans always show out, and so I think that'll be a good barometer for the Cougars to see improvements made from last year. Then we get to come back to the Bob for our home opener there in mid-September on the 14th against Mary. Follow that up with another game at home against Bemidji State. Unfortunately, that long road trip is on the schedule this year. Coach Glow gets to grind it up to Minot with the team. And so always a good time to make memories and bond with the guys for that 8-hour plus slog all the way up to Minot. But hey, why not Minot? So got to go up there eventually. We move into October and we get to go hit up Mankato for October 5th, play the Mavs. And so follow that by getting another back-to-back home games with Concordia St. Paul and then Duluth at the Bob. And then we move into kind of some South Division play. I kind of like the way this schedule set up here. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is kind of my age showing. We don't have divisions anymore. So it's just these old rivalries showing. As then we'll have Wayne State down in Wayne, Nebraska, Wayne, America, followed by the Key to the City game at Augie, at Kirkby over. Two things to highlight here at this point in the season, and I think we're going to have Coach Glow talk about this as well. Note that the Wayne State game is October 26th, but the Key to the City game is November 9th. The Cougars are going to get a bye week this year, with the week 0 being approved for D2 games, which allows that August 29th game for D2. So they'll get a chance to rest up heading into the Augie game. It's been a while, I think, since the Cougars have had a dedicated bye week. So I think those are always needed and nice for a long season. So looking forward to having that. And then wrap it up with the Mustangs at home at the Bob.
Well, let's go ahead and bring in Coach Glow right now. Coach, as you look at that schedule, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I know right now you're probably focused on like, okay, we got St. Thomas coming up, but what are your initial thoughts on the schedule for the 2024 season?
Yeah, well, the first thing is you go away, home, away, home, away. So that's kind of unusual. I don't know that I've seen that type of consistency in a schedule in a long time. The St. Thomas matchup, it's a one-year agreement. Next year, we are booked in 25-26 to start a home with Black Hills State. So, which will be exciting to play an in-state opponent and get on that side of the state for the first time in a long time. But, St. Thomas, the head football coach is Glenn Caruso. Glenn and I were on the same staff at the University of South Dakota back in 2004, 2005. So we're familiar with each other. Guys on the staff that I've coached with before, Gerard Dodson, some of those guys that, guys that I've got a relationship with. And so it'll be an interesting matchup. I've never played an FCS non-scholarship opponent. I do know this, that I've seen them quite a bit in recruiting. They obviously do a good job. They were 8-3. They won a lot of football games last year. They're a winning program. They were Division III not too long ago, and we're a pretty dominant Division III program. And Coach Caruso did a great job taking that program that I believe was 2-8 when he first got there. And by the time they had left Division III, they were essentially asked to leave the league that they were in and played for national titles. So he's done a heck of a job. They know how to win. It's been a long time since they've lost a home game. I do know that. I want to say like 2016 or something to that effect. So it'll be a challenge for us. And the other thing that sticks out is going back to the recap of last year is it's been a while since this program's won a football game. So that's what we're kind of focused on. That first half of the season was kind of battle back and forth, week in, week out. And then towards the end, we just didn't play great football, to be honest with you. So it's been a focus for us this offseason. And, we're just excited to get going. It's been a long offseason. When you're 3-8, you can't wait for the new season. When you're 11-0 or whatever, and you go to the playoffs, you want to savor it even longer. But we don't have a choice anymore. We're 3-8. We got to be better. And we're looking forward to starting off 24 with a bang.
Well, Coach, you've had a few changes from last year. You mentioned last year you started off 3-3, lost the last 5 games of the season. Little bit of changes in the coaching staff. Tell us about your coaching staff for the 2024 season.
Yeah, we had a couple guys move on, get some different opportunities. Carlton Littlejohn left us. He went to UNI, Northern Iowa, for about a week, and then all of a sudden he ended up back at North Dakota State, his alma mater, as the D-line coach. So pretty excited for him. Great opportunity for him to move up to the FCS level. And Carlton did a nice job while I was here. But we replaced him with Michael Buto, actually, who was a younger guy in our staff that played for me at Mankato. And then all of a sudden, about a month and a half after he was on the job, he was offered a D-line position out at the University of Idaho by Coach Jason Eck, who most people know in this area used to be at South Dakota State. Great program out there, chance to go to the FCS level. So he bounced. And at that point, we added another guy named Alex Johnson. And Alex and I had coached together. Ironically, Spencer Capitani and I were together for 2 years at Mankato. Spencer left, and Alex replaced him at Mankato. So we had a previous relationship. Most recently, he'd been the defensive coordinator down at Buena Vista University in Storm Lake, Iowa. So he joined our staff right at the beginning of the summer as a linebacker coach and special teams coordinator. And for the most part, that was our full-time staff movement. And then at some of our younger coaches, less experienced coaches, we had a couple guys turn over. We had Kylan Dickerson, and then we also added George Dutcher. Both those guys were here this spring, so they went through spring ball with us. Kylan coaches our corners, and Coach Dutch does our tight ends. And then most recently, maybe a name common to some of the Sioux Falls fans out there was Jacob Toot. He was a young man that played here, was out in the business world. And he just joined us right before camp started. He'll work with our defensive end. So Sioux Falls alum added to the staff, which is exciting. Somebody that knows the culture and was part of the successful teams back. I think it was roughly mid-2020s or 15. So 15, I think, to 19 roughly is when he played. So a guy with some connections and some experience. So excited to have him on board. And, just looking forward to getting better and getting kind of in a groove. And, the biggest thing is for most of the guys on staff is now we've been together for a year. We've been through a whole recruiting cycle. We've been through spring ball together. We went through the summer camp season. So I think that's helped us tremendously so far in recruiting for next year already. We've got quite a few commitments for the 25 class that's going to sign in February. It's helped with our kind of knowledge of the offense and defensive schemes. Another year wiser, another year older, another year more experienced. So I think that'll pay some dividends here in the fall. And kind of a cool rule this year is we're going to add instant replay in the conference. So we're actually going to have challenge flags. So we'll have the ability to challenge a few plays, similar to the NFL. I'm not sure that the film review will be going to New York or anything like that, or maybe we can send it out to, I don't know, we'll send it out to Mitchell or something, the Corn Palette for instant replay. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But we're going to have instant replay for the first time in the league. We experienced that a little bit last year down at Pitt State. And then also the NCAA approved sideline tablet, which is kind of interesting. So when we are in league, in conference games, we'll have the ability to have video access on the sidelines and in the press box to review in-game previous plays, previous series, or whatever. So, again, those are all things that are kind of new, and we're working through the kinks on that. And as you guys both know with technology, there's always seems to be a glitch you're not ready for. But yeah, some of those things will be important for us to be able to utilize them. And I think being together now for a year as a staff should give us some consistency and hopefully the camaraderie from being together now for a little bit. It should help us operate a little more smoothly.
Well, Coach, tell us a little bit about the players that we expect to see on the field this season for the Cougars. Let's go ahead and start with the offense. A lot of returners coming back. Go ahead and give us an update on what we expect to see there.
Yeah, I think we would have been close to 21 of the 22 returning starters back, but we did. Caden Moss will miss the season. He's an offensive tackle that started every game for us, but he'll be back next year. But so we do have some additions. Aiden DeVolder is a young man that was with me at Mankato. I actually recruited him to Mankato, and he had followed me down here last year, and so he put a year of transfer in. And so, expect to see him playing a lot at tackle. He's a big 6'5", 310-pound junior from Iowa, Marshalltown, Iowa. So that's exciting. And then, Ryan Ziegelbauer's back at left guard. At center, we've got Dom Avant and Jerome Jackson. Both those guys started nearly every game last year. And then you move over to the other side at the other guard spot, and welcome back Ben Peterson, a 6'5", 310-pound junior from Mason City, Iowa, who was actually the starting guard in the Mankato game and was injured and missed the entire season after the first quarter against Mankato. So that helps to have his experience back. And then he'll be over there with Barrett Walker, a young redshirt freshman who traveled last year, but a kid out of Lincoln, Nebraska, a 6'3", 300-pound kid that I expect will compete and help us this year. And then you kick out to tackle, and the gentle giant, Tyler Eukin, right? 6'9", 300 pounds. He's a kid that's a sophomore that got some experience last year. And then he'll be competing with Brady Copel. Brady's a kid from Brandon Valley who was actually at USD for a couple of years and transferred back here. And then, last but not least, on the other side of the line, we've got Jason LaGrange, who's back for a junior year, who played last year, a big 6'4", 290-pound kid. And then Jack Zelezinski. And Jack's kind of an interesting story, but he transferred in January from Houston originally, played at McNeese State. Actually watched video of him playing against LSU in the transfer process. So we're excited to have him in the mix. And then also we've got Sawyer Huntemer, a local young man from Sioux Falls that is a redshirt freshman, should also provide some depth. So feel pretty good about that group up front, although maybe they haven't had a lot of snaps in Sioux Falls Cougar uniform. They've had a lot of snaps in college, so that should help. At quarterback, pretty excited. At the quarterback position, we welcome back all three guys that traveled last year from Camden Dean, Adam Mullen, and Bennett Brick. And so I think that group will be pretty solid. I expect those guys to take a step forward. The running back position is pretty exciting as well. Dylan Rudnigan, who was an all-conference accolades last year, is back as a running back, a senior. He's just gotten bigger and stronger and has really did a nice job of being a leader this offseason. And then we added Christian Nash, a 6'1", 235-pound running back from Northern Illinois. He was a young man that I was familiar with out of high school. I recruited him out of high school from Omaha, Nebraska. Spent a couple years at Northern Illinois, and then he transferred in January, so he went through spring ball. And then you got Matt Grisbowski, who played quite a bit last year. And then I'm pretty excited about, some of our other young guys. Bubba Tan's a kid that we recruited out of Cherry Creek, Colorado. He's actually going to be a redshirt freshman. Probably could have gotten the mix last year as a true freshman. We were able to preserve that red shirt and keep on the red shirt roster last year. So he's another guy that I expect to kind of make an impact. So, and then, of course, at wide receiver, it probably starts and stops with Carter Slykehouse. He's a guy that's going to be a bell cow for us. He's an all-conference performer, arguably one of the most productive receivers in Sioux Falls football history. So excited to have him back for his sixth year. I think he'll make an impact. Our two freshmen that played last year, Adonis Hutchinson and Christian Janis, are back. Those two guys I expect to make a big contribution this year. And then you look at some of the guys that have been around for a while. Jock Lockett, who played running back, moved out to wide receiver last year. I expect him to contribute. John Palmer, who was banged up coming into last year that have finally played around the Pitt State game. Kind of got his feet up underneath him in that week. And he's finally back and healthy, so that's exciting. So, just some playmakers out there that I think will make an impact in the passing game. And there's a couple of young guys that I don't want to put on the spot right now, but one more guy is Jalen Taylor. He's a guy that was kind of nicked up last year a little bit, but he's back and healthy and had a good camp. So, I think we have some weapons out there, some guys that have played in the system. So I expect those guys to take a step forward this year. And then at tight end, which I think, could be one of the better tight end groups in the entire league. We've got Travis Yonke, who's going to be a graduate student. He's a big 6'4", 260-pound kid as our Y on the ball tight end. And then on the other side, maybe our most dependable playmaker last year, week in, week out, Mark Leonard, 6'5", 255. He's had some next-level scouts asking about him and those kind of things. So, he's a kid that we're counting on to flex out and catch some passes that line up like a wide receiver and then come back down and play kind of that hybrid J-back position for us. And then I really expect, a guy like Dalton Wood to take a step forward, and Noah Robertson, guys that have been in the program. We expect those guys to take a step forward. And then Caleb Brasher right now is kind of flipped over and played some on-the-ball tight end for us. He was a kid that transferred in from Harding, who won the national title last year in Division II, played tight end there, came here last year, played some DN, and now we've kind of been experimenting with back at tight end this year. So all in all, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Certainly those guys have played a lot of football. They're not going to be shocked walking out the field for their first start. And so I expect that side of the ball to continue to improve. I think we finished in the top third of the league last year in total offense. So hopefully we can keep that progression going and we can continue to be able to score some points and move the football down the field.
Yeah, Coach, we know a lot of those names from last year. The offense was relative, very productive last season. A lot of guys saw the field, and you mentioned Slykehouse set the single game record at USF for most receptions in a game. It's going to be, are there enough balls to go around? And hopefully the offense is able to put up some points this year for the Cougars. How about defensively, going over to the defensive side of the ball? Last year you were pretty banged up front, didn't have a lot of depth in the secondary. How did you address some of those issues in the offseason?
Well, the biggest thing is, I guess when I first took over, I really didn't want to just bring in a bunch of fill and play guys, rental players. I didn't want to do that. That probably led to some of the challenges that we did have. I think we ended up having 12 freshmen that saw playing time at some point in the season. And, that was going 3-8 wasn't the plan, but the design was to get these young guys in there to get them to play. And hopefully we can develop and see those kids, kind of finish out their careers after 4 or 5 years and say, wow, those guys developed and got better. We want to be a developmental program. We're always going to look at transfers. The portals is a real thing in college football, but I think you want to go shopping when you have a void in your roster. So in other words, if you have somebody get injured or somebody graduates or does transfer out, maybe you plug and play a guy you can find in the portal. But I'm not sure that just going out and just random shopping for all kinds of guys because your redshirt freshman guy isn't where you want him to be. I don't know if that's the answer for long-term success, at least in my opinion. So try to develop some of these guys. Pretty excited about the front, the guys we have back. Again, another guy similar to Ben Peterson is Francis Kumi, a big 6'5" defensive end that really had a nice spring and missed most of last year. Had an upper body injury. I think it was in the first game of the year, so he missed the entire season. He's back as a graduate student. We also welcome back, Brady Crawford at defensive end, who played quite a bit of football for us last year. And then we did add a transfer, Isaiah Ward, who I'm expecting big things from. He's a young man that played at Arkansas Pine Bluff, had previously gone to junior college with Joseph Sapp and a couple of guys on our team that knew him. So that connection certainly helped at defensive end. Isaiah should make an impact. And then Alex Maxim, a kid that kind of got thrown in the fire last year as a freshman. Quite frankly, probably wasn't ready to go as a redshirt freshman, but he did get some reps. And then there's a young man named Mo Diarra, a kid that was 210 pounds and 6'5" out of high school. He redshirted. He played last year. He came to camp this year. He grew 6'6". He's 255 pounds. And I expect that kid to make an impact too. And just a kid that's gotten better. But again, probably last year, I go back and watch the film at the end of the year and just wasn't quite there yet. So I expect that he'll take a big step forward and just excited to see some of these guys develop. On the inside at defensive tackle, I feel good about that group. We've got some big bodies. Leading the way was Cal Botsford. Unfortunately, Cal had a tough injury during fall camp, and he's going to have to sit out the season. But he was named the captain, which is pretty impressive. That's a little bit of a hit, to be honest with you. But there are some other guys in there. Dawson Rabe, who played in every game last year as a true freshman. He's 6'1", 305. He'll be back. I also expect Preston Yankee as a junior, Travis Yankee's brother. I think he'll be a big factor for us this year on the inside. Then you throw in Cole Campbell, a graduate senior, and Chase Kelly, and again, that's another 320-pound kid. So I think we have some of the body types in there. There might even be a freshman that makes an appearance at the 5th or 6th spot on that roster spot there. But I expect overall a better group up front. Hopefully we'll get a better pass rush, and that'll be key. At linebacker, I feel pretty good about the backer group, especially the first group with Matt Gehring, an all-conference player last year. He'll be a sophomore at Sioux Falls Roosevelt. He had a really good year, led us in tackles last year. He's back. Andy Henson, a young man that ironically played as a true freshman against Mankato, had a handful of tackles, and then ended up leaving the program and then came back in January. And so we welcomed him back. He worked his tail off, got himself back to being in the starting position at inside backer. He's a 6'2", 230-pound kid that can really run. I actually had committed to me at Mankato, and then when I got the job here, he ended up transferring back with me, or not transferring, but he decommitted there and committed here. And so I always thought he was going to be a good player, and I'm excited to see what he can do with one full year, ahead of him. And then you have Brendan Holt, who's a graduate student, another kid that's been around for a long time, really a dynamic pass rusher from the outside linebacker spot. So I expect big things out of him. And then you look at Tristan Hoppy. Tristan is a kid that had some injuries. It came back last year, kind of hit and miss injury-wise. A big 6'2", 230-pound kid out of Hutchinson, Minnesota, who I expect will really provide some depth and can play inside or outside and is really flexible and helps that position out a little bit. And then there's some veteran guys. Nate Tillich's a transfer that came in last year. He's a senior. Jordan Madrano, who transferred in and didn't see action, redshirted last year. I expect him to contribute. Thinking about Jake Hope. Jake's just a junior, a senior in the classroom, and a junior on the field. He's another guy who's got experience. Michael Stenbrotten, coming off an injury. He'll be back here in a couple weeks. So, some really exciting things there with guys that have been in the program that understand the expectations. And then you look at the back end, and ironically, I think we've got a ton of experience back there. Connor Aldrich, another kid who's voted captain. He's a senior at one corner. Joseph Sapp has started and played a ton of football games at the other corner spot. He's back. Kane McWilliams is a junior. He's played the last 2 years at corner. He's back. And then you look at a kid like, Vito Richards. And Vito is a kid that played for me at Mankato, transferred down here, kind of got caught in that transfer a little bit, getting comfortable last year. He's back. Ray Williams is a senior, a graduate student. And then we added a transfer by the name of Malo Wells. And Malo is a kid that, again, another one of these guys that had a previous relationship with guys in our squad. He joins us as a corner. I think he can provide some things both on special teams and as a cover corner, which will help. And then the safety spot, really excited about that group of young guys. Starts off with Garrett Hoffman, again, a team captain as a sophomore, a kid out of Sioux Falls, a kid that earned his way from a walk-on to a scholarship player. Now he's a captain as a sophomore. He started every game for us. He's back. I think he'll make his presence known. He's a really good, he's a very physical player who also understands what to do. So expecting him to take a huge step forward this year. Cade Morris is a true freshman last year, played in 3 games. He's back, again, a kid from Iowa who's only in his redshirt freshman year. So those kids that played in 3 games or less didn't lose any eligibility, but they got the experience. So that's huge. Bo Giblin, again, I say we're not taking transfers. I keep saying the word transfer, I feel like. But Bo Giblin's a kid from Sioux Falls, spent 1 year at South Dakota State, transferred in, excited about what he can do. Clay Sokol's a senior. He's back in the secondary, along with Eli Schlangen, who actually started 7 games last year. He's back in the secondary. I just think that some of these guys, London Kolb, a kid who played in every game as a true freshman last year, another Sioux Falls product, he's back this year. So, there's some really exciting potential, right? And like anything else, it's just potential until they do something. But these guys certainly understand how to practice. They understand the routine that we go through. And so, there's a lot to be excited about. We got to go out on the field and prove it. But we're certainly not looking around saying, who's that? What's his kid's name? What number is he? We're way further past that point, and we've been able to coach more specifics versus less structure and how to practice as far as a college tempo.
Well, Coach, I think my radio partner, Tom Frederick, would give me a hard time if I didn't bring up the special teams. So talk a little bit about, you obviously have a returning kicker, but, what about the punting position? What about the long snapper? What do you got going on there?
Yeah, that was another area that we had to address in the offseason, which I think we did. We added Peyton Inns, who had been a 2-year starter at Concordia St. Paul, as a long snapper. And then we also had a Blaze Marchand, a kid out of Boonville, Indiana. And he's a true freshman. He'll see some action on Thursday night. But those two guys improve our long snapping game incredibly. Aiden DeVolder, the young man I mentioned earlier, he's a short snapper. That shores up that position quite a bit. And then at the punting and kicking position, we did add 3 new kicker punters. Nick Hernandez is one of the better ones in the business. I'm excited about him handling the kickoff, the extra point, and field goal duties. He'll probably do some punting as well. But Scott Dixon is a young man out of Sergeant Bluff, Luton in Iowa, who a true freshman that'll see some action as a punter. He's got a big leg. He's a 6'2", long levered kid. So I know Coach Hansen, our kicking specialist coach, he's kind of contracted service kind of guy, but he comes in and works those guys. And I think the future is really bright there. Jacob Doctor, a kid from Sioux Falls Christian. And then Alex Akim's a kid that we also brought in from Mankato West High School. Those 2 guys will push too. But, all in all, just trying to create more competition, more depth. And I think we've addressed that. The snapping situation is always a scary one, right? Because you don't recognize those guys until something bad happens. But I think we've done our best to address that in a short off season, and looking forward to see what those kids can do.
And the team voted on captains last night, and so hot off the presses here.
Yeah, breaking news, Chad.
Yeah. Who you cue the music here? Who were voted in as team captains for the 2024 season?
There you go. I like it. Chad Birger and Scoop Dooyema. We got it rolling. You guys are on it. So yeah, breaking news. We did have the team vote, and the way that we do it is we have a first round of voting. Everybody gets 1 vote, and they nominate one person they want to see lead the team. And so we talk about what a captain looks like during fall camp. We talk about, what the expectation is. And the way I look at it is a captain is like the poster child for your program. If I took one of these guys and I pulled them out, you would look at that guy and say, yeah, he's not perfect, but he tries to do things the right way. And so after that first round of voting, we kind of cut it down to 10 or 12 guys, and then we vote as a team. They get 4 choices. The first choice gets 4 points. The second gets 3, 2, and 1. Whoever gets the most points, we look at it as coaches, and that's the captains. And so this year there was a clear distinction between 6 guys and everybody else. But we ended up going with 3 on offense, 3 on defense. Pretty exciting about this group. I think they all represent us really well on and off the field. But Adam Mullen is back again as a captain for a guy that was a starting quarterback and then competed for the position. And then, of course, Cam took over. For his teammates to see him as a captain and be a leader, it's pretty impressive, pretty special. So I'm excited about him coming back and leading our group. Travis Yonke, a tight end who has been in the program now going on his 3rd year, a kid that really has kind of personified the dirty work. He does all the things behind the scenes where maybe Mark Leonard catches more balls and gets more credit. But Travis is a big part of our run game, a big physical kid. So I'm excited for him. And then we also added, as far as the offensive side of the ball, at running back is Dylan Ruddigan. And, I mean, he's a kid. He's 5'8.5". He's 210 pounds. He's stuck together. He works hard. He pays the price. He's always pushing himself. He runs incredibly hard. He does a lot of the dirty work on the inside run game stuff. Very excited about that kid being a leader. He's earned it. The kids respect him. And then on defense, we added 3 captains. Number 1 is Connor Aldrich. Connor's a kid that has just gotten better and better. He's a kid that I really was happy for. It meant a lot for him to be named captain by his teammates. That's a pretty big honor. So he was very appreciative and did a nice job last night, kind of explaining that to his teammates, what that means. And then we added Garrett Hoffman, a sophomore. Again, a local kid. You talk about a poster child. A local kid from Sioux Falls, walks on, wants to stay local, wants to play for the hometown team, comes in here, red shirts, goes through an injury, comes back, coaching staff changes over, new coaches. He puts his nose to the grindstone. He ends up being a starter, ends up being a great teammate, a great leader, starts every game, and he goes on scholarship this offseason. And then now he's voted captain by his teammates. So, I mean, to me, that personifies what we're looking for in the kids in our program and looking for big things out of him. And Cal Botsford, Cal's a kid that unfortunately had a tough injury about the first week of fall camp, but a kid that was a captain previously. To be voted captain when you're injured and out for the season and your teammates still want you to represent them, that's pretty special. We're hoping he can come back for another year. We'll see. But just really pleased that these 6 guys were chosen. And I don't go behind closed doors and, kind of manipulate the results to get what I want. I really believe it's the kid's choice. All I try to do is kind of separate that dividing line of who got the most attention versus, where's that breaking point. And it was a pretty clear breaking point with those 6 guys. We had almost 25 guys get nominated, that's encouraging. And then we cut it down to to 10 or 12 final votes. And then of the 10 or 12 guys that we ended up voting on, those are the 6. So pretty pleased about that and look forward to those guys' leadership this season.
Coach, I want to mention one thing. I've been out to a few practices so far this preseason, and we'll talk about the Legacy Association here in a little bit. But the Legacy Association actually posted a post on Twitter. I think it was yesterday or the day before, but talking about like how the guys are doing things the right way. And so what we were doing was on Saturday we went out to the field, and we actually had a can feed out there for the players, and it was kind of a neat deal. But afterwards, after practice, a couple of guys went in the locker room and toured it, and that locker room was like pristine. And so, the guys are picking up after themselves. They're taking care of their stuff. They're doing things the right way. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of that mentality that you're instilling in the squad this year.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand the culture of a place you were at. And I'll be the first one to admit, last year we came in with the hashtag built different, trying to put my stamp on it. And I was aware of the winners win, but I didn't understand the culture. I didn't understand what that meant. And after being here for a while, I really tried to dig in and dive in and figure out what this place was built on. And I've had a chance to have some connections with former coaches. And unfortunately, I only had a brief conversation with Coach Young, but talking with his grandson and the other coaches that have been here with him, and Kalen DeBoer and some of those guys, that Curtis Riggs that came and talked to the team last spring, and even Jed Stugard, and I was acquaintances with John Anderson. So kind of understanding the culture. And anytime you're the head football coach, you want the program to be representative of all the things that you are on and off the field. And we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We get flustered with each other at practice, and we probably have some moments that aren't our best moments at practice. Or, there's times in the locker room where guys get agitated by each other in fall camp. That's pretty typical. But how we carry ourselves on and off the field, how we clean up the bus after traveling, how we leave the locker room after a game, what does our locker room look like on a daily basis? Like, that's our sanctuary. And they've got a TV in there and some video games and a pop-a-shot basketball game. And we've got some, shout out to Matt Jacobson and Larry Ewan, guys that volunteer their time to do laundry for us. And, so disrespecting those guys by throwing a towel on the floor, not putting it in the bin, or not hanging up your clothes, or leaving your stuff all over the place. None of those guys paid for that locker room. And we were very fortunate. We've got a nice locker room. We had some nice upgrades last year. And so trying to take care of the stuff we have, trying to recognize the guys that came before us. And I've always felt like before you win championships, you got to think like a champion, act like a champion, and do things like a championship team. And, you get beat, you shake the guy's hand. I'm not saying we're perfect. And we had our shares of blemishes last year with a personal foul or illegal hands to the face or a late hit. And I'm not saying that stuff's okay, but it happens sometimes. These guys aren't perfect. They're trying. They're 18 to 22. But we can try to at least hold them to a level of accountability. And that made me feel good. I'll be honest with you. And like anything else, there's ups and downs. And for every 5 really good things you do, it takes one negative thing to completely throw that to the side and make you look like a joke of an outfit. And we don't want that. And so I just believe that if we can stay the course and do the little things, we talk about our process, what that looks like. We have 3 phases of the process, right? First, you got to learn it. Like, what does that look like? And I had to learn it when I first got here. And then you have to actually go out and live it. So that's cleaning up the locker room. That's picking up equipment on the field. That's not leaving your tape from your wrists on the field after practice. That's not throwing a water bottle on the ground and making a trainer pick it up. All those things. Take your shoes off when you go in the training room because that's what they require. Shower before you go get treatment after practice. All those things, they all matter because, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And you can't change the stripes on a tiger. So people that know me know I love those little cliches because they're so true. And that's why they're called cliches, because they're accurate. They're true. So, yeah, long story short, we were really blessed with a great support group. The CFLA had a phenomenal golf outing. Those guys took time out of their Saturday to cook us a meal. Pretty cool deal. Never been a part of something like that before. And for those guys to recognize it, it's not like I said, hey, clean up the locker room. The guys are here. I would like to think that any day you walked in there, it would look like that. And I just think that's really important because I do think that how you do things, again, the process, right? First you learn it, then you live it. Then the last step is then you can defend it. Hey, this is not how we do things. And, it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast this summer and Nick Saban talked about during the summertime, the coaches can't coach them, but they have 7-on-7 or whatever. And sometimes former players, NFL guys will come back. And there was an instance last summer where he was talking about one of the NFL guys came back and they were running routes, and the young wide receiver had a ball that was thrown poorly. He throws the ball down and starts yelling back at the quarterback about a poor throw. And the veteran NFL guy grabs this young kid and says, hey, that's not how we do things here at Alabama. And so it just kind of makes you think, if you look around at successful people, there's always that common thread. And that's what I try to do as a coach. Find the common thread. What do great programs, successful programs do? Let's emulate those things. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. And so whether that's reflected on Coach Young, reflected on Coach DeBoer, all those things, we want to try to create a program that as alums you guys can be proud of. And I think that includes having a clean locker room.
Well, I know both Sam and I appreciated it. It was great. It was fantastic to get out there on Saturday. Let's go ahead and talk real quickly about the Cougars' upcoming game. It's the week 0 game this year. The opponent is the Tommies from St. Thomas. The game will take place Thursday, August 29th at 6:00 p.m. at O'Shaughnessy Stadium in St. Paul, Minnesota. If you're able to go, please do go support the Cougars. If you're not able to go, there is a link on usfcougars.com to watch the program, to watch the game. Otherwise, you can always tune in on KWSN and listen to Tom Frederick and Tim Hyatt. We're still working on that sideline buddy road game technology, Coach. I know we talked about it last year, but it's
halftime interview by Atomic Wings. We already got a sponsor.
I know. We'll make it happen sometime during your tenure here at USF. So, Coach, what do we expect out of the Tommies? They were 8-3 last season, pretty run heavy. What do we expect to see in that game, that opening game for the Cougars?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the biggest offensive line that we'll see. I mean, we're talking 6'6" across the front, big kids, physical, 2 tight ends, trying to keep it into a third and manageable third down situation. Really active, pressure, in-your-face type of defense. Wally Kaczynski, the defensive coordinator, does a phenomenal job. I've known him for a long time, coached against him before, does a great job with his kids. Really sound special teams. Glenn Crusoe and I were on the same staff at the University of South Dakota back in, I think it was 04 and 05. And so he was the offensive coordinator there. So some of the same kind of qualities that he established when we were together down there, I still see playing out today with them. And I expect it to be a really physical, kind of an inside run type of football game. I know they had some coaching changeover and whatnot, but looking at their roster and the guys they have coming back, I don't know if you get away from success and the recipe that it takes to get there. And I think they've had that. It's been quite a long time since they lost a home game. I want to say it's been several years, 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 years since they lost a home game. So they know how to win. They were very, very ultra successful at the Division III level. They transitioned to Division I. They've been successful there. They won the Pioneer League in one of their first seasons in the league, which is impressive. They play a national schedule all over the country. They're going to play Northern Iowa after they play us. They're going to run into Lindenwood and Coach Jed Stugart, the former Cougar coach down there later in the season. So, we're talking about a program that is well established, is fundamentally sound, and they're going to bring their A game. And we've got to walk into their place on opening night and try to go blow for blow with them and hang around to the fourth quarter and see if we can find a way to get a win.
Yeah, I mentioned they were 8-3 last season. Opened up with a win over Black Hills State, 36-26 in that one, and then traveled to Vermilion and played South Dakota. Then went out to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and played against Harvard.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the nationwide schedule. So played against Harvard, lost that one 45-13. Then went ahead and played, hosted Morehead State, won that one. Went to Dayton, Ohio, played there. Played Butler, Drake, lost to Drake 52-21. That was their third loss of the season. But then actually later on in November, went out to San Diego and played in San Diego. So, I mean, they were like coast to coast last year.
Yeah, that Pioneer League is crazy. I mean, it's from Marist to Stetson down in Florida out to San Diego. I mean, there's some major travel. And, I spent some time early in my career out east, and I was around a lot of those non-scholarship FCS type programs, and there's nothing non-scholarship about them as far as the way they play. They're physically 6'3", 215 at wide receiver. They're 6'5", 6'6", 250 at tight end, athletic quarterback. And I'm familiar with a lot of those kids from the Minnesota area because when I was at Mankato, we were in on recruiting some of those kids. So I know the level of talent they have. They're certainly not going to look at us as some D2 program that they're going to take us serious, and they're going to be well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. And so the first game, you worry about those things, right? Penalties and mistakes. And the one thing I know about Glenn Crusoe is that he's not going to, give us an opportunity to win the football game because they made a simple mistake.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone's able to watch the game. Make sure to tune in. It's Cougar football. I mean, it's going to be a good one.
It's back, baby. It's go time.
We're back Thursday, August 29th, 6 p.m. If you're not able to make it to St. Paul, as I mentioned, tune in to the radio or watch the broadcast, and make sure to support USF Cougar football. Last but not least here, I did want to wrap up by talking about the Cougar Football Legacy Association. The Cougar Football Legacy Association, you can find them at www.coulegacy.com. The mission of the Legacy Association is to bring alumni, family, friends, and supporters together to help equip the USF football program with the resources necessary to continue its winning legacy. The CFLA does things like organize opportunities for the USF football community to connect with one another and stay engaged with the program, fundraises through membership dues and various events to supplement the financial needs of the program, and provides a platform for those associated with the program to network with one another. The CFLA has recently hosted, as Coach Glow mentioned, a golf outing last month in July. A lot of alumni came back. A lot of supporters were around for that to help support the association. And then in addition to that, the Cougar Football Legacy Association did provide a can feed. And so I was going to see if I could pull up I don't know, we talked about it a little bit ago, but I was going to see if I could bring up a picture to kind of show people what it was. But some of the alumni actually cooked a bunch of food in these old garbage cans, these big garbage cans. The food selection, there was meats, there was like sausage and ham, there was corn on the cob, there was potatoes, there was carrots, all kinds of different stuff. The food was fantastic. And Saturday, a lot of alumni, I think I see Sam, is that you in that picture right there?
I am. I'm in the back.
There we are. So
helps out.
Yeah, Sam was there helping out. I was there passing out drinks. But it was kind of a cool deal. And I think the players appreciated that. And that's just one of the things. The Legacy Association also sponsors the tailgates at the home games. So if you're able to kind of support the Legacy Association, whether you want to join or just, if you just want to connect with other people, go ahead and, click on the QR code if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, go to coulegacy.com, COOlegacy.com, and join the Cougar Football Legacy Association. Anything else you want to add about those guys, Coach Glow?
No, just really appreciative. Obviously, it's phenomenal. And like I told our players, lots of people can just write a check and walk away and say they supported you, but to put in your time and effort and appreciate what you guys are doing. Obviously, nobody's getting rich off this, although we might get a few chicken wings out of this, but who knows? But I greatly appreciate it. It's a special place with special people. And believe me when I say this, like we want to make everybody proud by putting product out there that you can say, man, that's what we're all about. I think winning does play a part in that, but I also think how you do things is probably more important than the actual result. And if you do things the right way, the results take care of themselves. So thank you to the CFLA for everything they do.
Right. Well, thanks, Coach Glow. Thanks, Sam, for joining us. We went a little bit long this episode, but that's okay. Make sure to tune in the week following the St. Thomas game. We'll go ahead and have another episode then, and we hope to continue doing this the rest of the season. Until then, make sure to support our sponsors, the Cougar Football Legacy Association and Atomic Wings. If you need more information, go ahead and reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you connect with me. Send Coach Glow an email. He'll forward it to me. We'll get you taken care of if you need more information about anything. But thanks to both of you for joining us today. And until next time, go Cougars.